but then just like the authenticity of me and my own practices and rituals. We can Google all of this, right? Oh, what's a full moon ritual? But it's like doing it, actually doing it, creating the time to do it. That's what I've been telling the people. It's like my members, it's like, you guys can all go out and Google like Ayurveda. This isn't about the information. This is about like the support and us actually doing it together and making the time to do it together. So it's like, no, we're going to actually do this together. We're going to schedule it.
The Well Pro Show, brought to you by futurist thought leader Kate Stillman and the team at Wellness Pro Academy.
Hey, this is Kate Stillman with Wellness Pro Academy, and I'm here with Nina Pullella. How do I say your name? Pullella?
Pullella.
Pullella, who's been in Wellness Pro Academy, but I just call her Nina and not Pullella. Nina, when she joined, or when we first started talking, what I really was just loving about her wellness business is that she comes from a background of having this really cool business where she supplies really great food to her community in Hawaii. She's an Ayurvedic medicine practitioner and a plant-based chef living in Oahu. And so I was just asking Nina before we hit go and about how she got so into cooking and her heritage. And so we're going to tell some stories about that. And then we're going to get into what she's doing in Wellness Pro Academy and how she's combining her love of women and moon rituals and food and nourishment to bring women on a deeper healing journey. So her website is living-ayurveda-hawaii.com. And I know for many of you, you're just jealous of having that in general of like, wow, that would be great to be a living Ayurveda chef in Hawaii. So let's just go right into tell us a little bit about how you got into food and your heritage.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. This is so fun. Well, so my dad is from Southern Italy, a tiny little village in the mountains, super remote. My grandmother was washing his clothes in a river with rocks. They were like born in a house with no doctors, they would bring the goats to the front door and milk it, and that's how they got their milk. So he immigrated as a kid, and that very much, they adapted partially to like America, but then they definitely kept, a lot of their traditions because it just made sense. And I was sharing with you that my grandmother, we have these hilarious stories about how she would corner mothers in grocery stores, and she would see processed foods in their cart, and she would go up to them. She barely spoke English, and she would say, "Asa, honey, oh, what it is? Oh, you kind of know a feed your baby this. It's a junk. You just got to go and you get it the tomato, you get it the onion." And she would teach them how to cook in the grocery store. It was hilarious, but that's how we grew up. Some of my first memories were like standing on a stool in the kitchen, rolling up my sleeves and like crushing tomatoes with my hands with my dad. And, it made such a imprint on me. Like, we every night, so I actually grew up in a restaurant too. It's like totally stereotypical Italian immigrant family. And we would wait for my dad to come home every night to eat dinner together, even if it meant us eating late, which we know isn't great, but it was so, so important for us. My mom's also an immigrant. She immigrated from Scotland, and they have a very different relationship to food. But yeah, it's really my Italian side that I really credit to my relationship to food. And yeah, we didn't grow up really eating processed foods. We just grew up cooking together.
Yeah, so powerful. And so tell us a little bit, you're in Wellness Pro Academy to launch your Wild Women Collective. And part of being in WPA, as we call it for short, is where you get to bring together all of your skills. So not just the cooking skills, but also the Ayurveda skills, and then your interests as well, right? For how you want to guide people through an embodied experiential journey. So tell us a little bit about just what is the Wild Women Collective all about, and what are you gals doing in there?
Yeah, so
Or what
actually
are you planning on doing with your members too? Yeah.
well, last night was our first call. So I just launched last night. So very, I know, thank you. It's so, so awesome. Um, yeah, seven members starting.
Oh, yay. That's a
Yeah.
great number to start with. I love it.
Three of them, free. They're actually three of my staff who've been with me the longest with Nina Cucina. And
Oh,
then one at 50% off. She's a former employee of mine. And then two that are paid full price. And you encouraged me when you were laser coaching me on my pitch deck to put a VIP offering.
yeah.
And so I did it and someone chose it. So one of my
Yay.
7 people is a VIP member, which I'm like, wow, okay.
And so
That's
what is the price point of the collective and what's the price point of the VIP? I know people are curious.
yeah. So I went with 2,400 if it's paid in full, and it's 250 if they pay per month.
Mhm.
So rather than adding on additional fees for the monthly, what I did was I made it a monthly 250, and then you do the savings if you pay in full.
Mm.
So encourage that way. And then I did for VIP double the full price, so 4,800 for the
Oh,
VIP.
great.
Yeah.
Great. And what was and so just people know that's like for the annual. So one of the things that we do in Wellness Pro Academy is we help wellness pros have an offer where they can work with their clients, patients, students who become members. They can work with them over extended period of time. So we start with, the idea of this 12-month club, which is usually a big stretch for wellness pros because they often think like, well, what will I do with people for so long? But then once they understand that there's a journey and that journeys are really powerful because they take time, they exist in the field of time, and that relationships with growth groups or people that you want to grow with, that also happens in the field of time. So shorter isn't better when it comes to a really powerful club and a journey to go on together. And so just that's a bit of an understanding just in terms of the pricing and how that works. I'm curious of just in general what you guys are doing in your club and how you created your offer and what's on your offer blueprint.
Yeah. So like you said, I'm really bringing all parts of my experience with, food. A lot of people know me in my community as around food because my business, Nina Cucina, I'm going to make 9 years in like next week is my 9-year anniversary. So it's actually interesting because that's taken up so much of my time and energy. I was in Ayurveda school throughout the process of having Nina Cucina, that it's been kind of like needing to teach people, oh, I also do this other thing called Ayurveda. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now is, I'm kind of coming out of the Ayurveda closet a bit more publicly. And so but what it allows is for people to come into my funnel from Nina Cucina because they've been my customers for
Yeah,
years and they
yeah,
know me that way. And now they're like, oh, this makes sense, oh yeah, diet. And we know that lifestyle is also important. And oh, she does herbalism. So I'm in that stage of kind of teaching people that there's more that I do. And then it's bringing in my just personal interests of my connection to the natural world, to being active in nature, surfing, hiking, stand up paddling, like all of this connection that I have with my surroundings and the environment. I actually am also a student of La'au Lapa'au, which is native Hawaiian medicine. So I've been a big privilege. I've been invited into a lineage. And so I also have like parts of that too. So I'm bringing all of this together into this one magical club that is really going to be evolving throughout the year. And the thing is my members know that. I'm like, I'm going to see like, what do you guys want more of? This is what I can offer. And they're trusting me.
yeah. Yeah, because in the Vedic term, right, there's the Shakti, like that they're connected to the Shakti of this wild woman collective. They're connected your Shakti. What I love about how you launched was you brought into your club the people who've supported your business being manifest, and you're supporting them, and then they're going to talk about it, right? And then your clients are going to, from your other business, are going to hear about it. And like, that's really how the FOMO component of the club as a business model, where, so FOMO, fear of missing out. There's also JOLO now, like the what is it? The joy of missing out, I think is another one for like people who are totally overscheduled. And like, there's often like the joy of missing out of things that are unimportant, but the fear of missing out of things that are really important. And as a club, like a collective, and just that Shakti of like, oh wait, there's something, and they're together, and it's not free. It's not like you can just randomly show up. It's like, wow, it's entering, it's almost like going through a process, right? The sales process to enter a group that has an intention, that has a field of Shakti containing it, right? So it's like we're intentionally inclusive in terms of who can come in, but then the club is exclusive to those who are non-members. And that builds this really strong container. And I can tell that how you've launched and who's in it from the beginning, like there's a natural pulse in there already of the Shakti. We're like, I wonder where this is going to go. I wonder how we're going to evolve together. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about moon ceremonies, about lunar rituals, and what this is in the Wild Woman Collective.
Yeah, so I'm bringing in, I guess this is where it is really my own just like personal journey of, it's like, yes, we learn about Soma and the moon, in Ayurveda and also in Hawaiian medicine. And it's bringing both of those in, but then just like the authenticity of me and my own practices and rituals. And it's, we can Google all of this, right? Oh, what's a full moon ritual? But it's like doing it, actually doing it,
Yeah.
and creating the time to do it. It's like, that's what I've been telling the people. It's like that my members, it's like, you guys can all go out and Google like Ayurveda. This isn't about the information. This is about like the support and us actually doing it together and making the time to do it together. Because I also find that sometimes like the full moon passes me by because I've just been so busy, and I'm like, I didn't go out and do my ritual that I like to do on the full moon, which is actually doing an Uttar Basti with with Shatavari ghee, like
Totally.
that's what
Yeah.
I like to do on the full moon, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, no, we're going to actually do this together. We're going to schedule it.
Attention established wellness leaders. If you've built a thriving practice but hit the ceiling on growth, this is for you. It's Kate Stillman, and in this free training, I'm working specifically with wellness pros who have 5+ years of experience and are ready to scale. Whether you run a boutique studio, an integrative clinic, or have a dedicated healing practice, if you're serving a client load and know you could impact more lives with the right strategy, let's talk. You'll get a one-on-one with my assistant, and if your offer shows serious scaling potential, you'll also receive a free strategy session with me. Visit wellnesspro.academy and click on free training to design your next level offer and break through your growth ceiling. That's wellnesspro.academy, and just look for the free training button up in the upper right corner.
And I just kind of want to pause there because, like, so those are like, what are they talking about? What's Uttar Basti? What's Shatavari ghee? This is an Ayurvedic ritual of nourishing your yoni, nourishing your women reproductive organs. So you're like the root of your Shakti, with a bathing ritual. And the ghee is, Shatavari is particular to women, to women's hormonal balance. And then the ghee is really nourishing in a way to absorb. It's an anupana, or a way that the body can absorb that medicine. So when you're potentizing the power of the moon with the ghee, with the Shatavari, with your consciousness, like right into your yoni, like, watch out, world.
Yeah, and like doing it outside, like facing the moon.
Doing it outside facing the moon. So I just want to highlight a few things that you said. Well, first of all, like for many women, that sounds very primal. And for others, it actually sounds really quite sophisticated. So there's like this interesting paradox between those two things where it is primal and it is sophisticated. Because making ghee is sophisticated, right? Ghee does not come out of a cow, milk comes out of a cow. But the other part is that you get to do what you need the most as a club leader. And what Nina shared was that like she needs to do this for herself. She notices that culture doesn't pull her into the ritual, culture pulls her away from the ritual. So in her Wild Woman Collective, she knows that other women also need to be pulled into the ritual, right? And this is what we do together. We set a standard, we create a culture, we reinforce that culture, right? Of like, hey, we all know this is good for us, but it is an adversity habit because it doesn't happen that you have the ghee that you're gathering. Like what does tend to just happen for a lot of people is like Netflix and chill, or like wine after dinner. And these things that are so powerful need a container in order to happen.
Yeah, container and support, and doing it together makes it more fun.
Yeah.
One of the things we're going to do, so you really encouraged me to one, make this club regional, which I'm so glad that I did, because originally I was thinking it was going to be, just to anyone, and also so that I could do things in person.
Yeah.
And what, like a hybrid, right? So it's like our weekly calls are over Zoom, but then what I'm noticing when I'm in these sales calls with people, when I start talking about the things we're going to do in person, that's when people's kind of like, I can see them go, wow, this is different. This is not just another online course. And so I'm really, really driving that home
Yeah.
in the sales calls, where it's like, we're going to be doing these quarterly events, which it could be everything from like an herbal make and take or a full moon gathering, right? Where maybe we're going to be doing yoni steams together on the full moon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? And maybe we're just going to get together like casually and go to the beach or do a hike. Or what I'm finding is that my club members, they're all so inspiring themselves. Like one is a longtime hula dancer, which means she also is incredible lei maker. So I'm like, would you want to, do like a hula night? And she's like, yeah. Another one is an incredible painter. And I just thought of this on my drive home from the gym this morning. I'm like, I should ask Lori if she wants to just like guide us, let's do painting together, because this is all about the feminine, right? It's like this creative, right? This like creative essence that's like, we're not making time to do it and to dance. Like this is primal, to all get together and do dance that's honoring, the cycles of nature, which is hula and storytelling. So yeah, I'm like, it's all evolving as we go, because I'm just like, ideas coming now.
And that's really what we mean by dynamic clubs in Wellness Pro Academy. Like to me, this is really where the magic happens. Is it's the opposite of the hierarchical structure that is set up in teaching, where it's like, well, the teacher knows best, the guru knows best, everyone else is in this sort of subservient, oh, if someday I'll rise to the level of master. It's like, no, you're already master in something, right? And there's this like, who are you, and can we bring leadership out of you, because we're all stronger when we're called in to that leadership. So I just absolutely love that you're there, you've launched, you got it, you're still in the beginning, but you've totally embodied what the power of club as a business model for wellness pros is all about. Like you get to do whatever you want, you get to reinforce the things that you need to do for yourself and other women need to do, or your members need to do. And then the power of like bringing members into an experience of where they're taking more ownership of the club. I interviewed, I think it was last year on my podcast, this guy, Peter Block, who's written 17 books, and one of them is called Community. And he talks a lot about like what actually creates community is when members are leaders. It's like giving a shared context of a mission. And then when members take on the responsibility of leading within, and that's the make or break it. So you're gonna thrive. I also want to highlight, and I'm highlighting a bunch of things you just said, the power of regional, like local and regional, because there's this sort of like sexy, like, oh, I'm global, but then it's like, oh, now you're competing with everyone in the world, and you're not grounded. Whereas with local, regional, and hearing how you're bringing in the Hawaiian traditions and bringing that out in the members from the club, like that will also magnetize the Shakti of members into your club.
Yeah, and it's more exclusive, right? Where I'm like, this is literally only for women on Oahu. And they're like, wow, that is so cool.
Yeah. 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 And that should really play into your whole hubs and marketing strategy, right? I love it. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, about like what we do in hubs and what, in terms of the training that you've been through in Wellness Pro Academy? Because it's, I mean, you and I both have background as trained as Ayurvedic practitioners. And there's often this assumption, I'm working with a few Ayurveda schools this year, because often there's an assumption that when people graduate that they'll understand the business, they'll understand how to be a practitioner. And I'm just curious, like what has shifted in your experience in Wellness Pro Academy in terms of understanding part of the, the business model, and then also like how we work with other hubs is what we call them, whether they're other businesses or organizations or publications or events that are in line with who it is that we're trying to attract into our club, and just some of like the shifts in your thinking. I'm so curious.
Yeah. So, when like we graduate with our, as an Ayurveda practitioner, we're taught this one-on-one consultation model. Which is effective, but it only really gets you so far for many reasons. I think for the person that's receiving the information, because they're limited to the amount of energy and time that you can give them.
Yeah.
Um, and it's limited because you're always trading hours for dollars.
Yeah.
Right? So there's only so much like actual time and energy that you have, and you're constantly repeating yourself. I was in
Yeah.
practice for 5 years and I was like, this is insane. Like I'm starting to feel like I'm going a little bit crazy because I'm saying the same thing over and over. And
Yeah.
so I was trying to think of a way I could somehow automate that. And then that's what ended up leading me to you and to Wellness Pro Academy. And so I was very much aware, as you say, like not only was I problem aware, like
Mhm.
problem aware being like, this isn't working as efficiently as effectively as it can. I was also solution aware. I knew that there was something else, there was a better model.
Yeah.
So that was what led me to WPA. And I also really, you model the way of this, like the momentum of the club, of the people together, bringing you further.
Yeah.
And you also model the way in it's like you being a member of the club. Like I remember being on a call with you when I did detox before, I think I was in WPA, and we were going into breakout rooms and you were like in a breakout room and you were sharing like, what's your detox all about? And I was like, this is so cool because it's not this, like you said, hierarchy, right? I think when, we graduate from Ayurveda school, it's like, okay, you're the practitioner and they're the patient. And now with club, it's like we're saying, I get to be a member too, and I get to then like empower the women to be leaders and to share their gifts. And so it's like we're all doing this together, which is so much more fun for me, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
much more fun. And then as far as hubs, so you actually had this really great idea that you gave me in a call, I think a week or two ago. And this was, and I'm gonna do this, to do Instagram lives with local female entrepreneurs.
On a
And
walk.
on Oahu, right? So it's like you're broadening your kind of like this net that you're throwing because it's going to get posted on their Instagram. And so then the people on their Instagram will then see you, but it's also aligned with female entrepreneurs on Oahu. And I was starting to get a little bit nervous about, okay, we do the monthly free talks. And I'm like, I have to do 2 monthly free talks. Like I'm just going to be speaking to my audience. And so I'm like, this is a monthly free talk and it's a hub. So it was like a 2 for 1. I'm like, that's genius. I am going to do that. So I will report back how that goes. I'm actually working on reaching out to some people now to book that.
I'm really curious about that. I'm curious about how you'll do research on that, like whether, and I'm guessing that, chat GPT will be a good source of finding that. And also, just looking for the businesses, the organizations, because like there's so many that are small, but like if I think of, and I've lived in places probably similar, where it's, smaller communities. And the thing about smaller communities is like word of mouth is everything. And with our clubs, word of mouth is everything. So I'm thinking of like the hairdressers. I'm even thinking of like the bookkeepers, like some of these businesses that we don't think of it as like as a business, but it is. And they have potent followings and good email lists, and, like where you're both able to offer to each other, and how, yeah. Yeah, I'm so curious. I'm so curious at what happens next. Okay, I know what people really want to know, especially like the wellness pros who want to bring moon ceremonies into their clubs. Where do you start? Where should they start? And especially for the ones that might not have any training in Hawaiian customs or even Ayurveda rituals.
I mean, I would just start. Well, you mentioned Chat GPT. Throw it in Chat GPT. How do I do a moon ritual? And just bring your friends over. That's how I started. I didn't throw it into chat, but so I want to tell you a story. This time last year when I was working on I was writing my intentions for the new year. I wrote down that I wanted to be in community with women, and I wanted to create more time with bringing women together. And that was where I got the idea of doing just full moon circles at my house with some friends. And up until this point, I've had a really bad habit of never looking at my intentions that I set for the new year ever again, which is going to change because now in club, we just did that yesterday, and now we're going to be checking in quarterly. So I'm like, great. But last month in December, I cracked open my journal. I totally forgot that I wrote that. And so here now we are 1 year later, and I'm like, this is the Wild Woman Collective. Like, I totally forgot that that was literally my intention for the year. And here we are. So that was a really cool moment. But I just started by casually, not charging, right? Because when you start charging, then you feel like you really have to perform.
Yeah.
You have to show up. But it's like, just bring women together. And then I just said to other women, like, what do you want to do? So what we did, the first one, we just built a fire. So I have a fire pit in the backyard. We have no outdoor lighting, so we're in the pitch dark. And which I was like, okay, that's cool. We're under the moonlight, but we brought oracle cards. No one could even read them because it was so pitch black. So we're all out with our phones. We're like, okay, we have to figure out some kind of lighting next time. But we brought oracle cards. And one of my friends is a musician. She just like brought some instruments, and we just, it was just this organic, like, what do you guys want to do? Potluck. And we just gathered. And another one that we did, one of my friends was going to give birth. She was waiting to give birth. And so the full moon before her due date, we just did like a dance party. We just played music around the fire to try to help bring on labor. And that was our full moon circle. We just played music and just danced. And it was so casual. There was like no expectations.
Yeah.
And now, because I've done this a handful of times, I'm like, okay, cool. I can do this now. I can, I have that confidence from doing it a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love how organic, and building confidence through action is like the only way to build confidence, right?
So. Just have to do it. You literally, that's like people ask me how to cook. It's like, just start cooking. I don't know what else to tell you, just experiment, fail, learn.
Let's talk about your core competencies in the Wild Woman Collective. So in WPA, like one of the first things we do, and we do this for free with people in the process of coming in, we call it WPA waitlist, where you go through a little bit of training and we develop what exactly will be in your club, and then what people will become competent in as a result of being in your club, like how will they evolve. And so I'm curious what you landed on, because you have this mix of cooking, the lunar rituals, and Ayurveda, and how does it all shape up in your core competencies?
Yeah. So I've created my core competencies all to be named around like the type of woman that we are all going to be embodying and becoming.
Mm,
So we have I'm just pulling them up here so I don't miss one. So we have the wise woman, and this
mm,
is a basic understanding of Ayurveda. So teaching people like the healing philosophies of Ayurveda so that we can do a little bit of Ayurveda speak, right? We can talk a little bit about the doshas. We can understand like the elements and how, just a basic understanding. And then I'm also doing some simple herbalism. So where it's very much like, and this is where Lao is going to come in, the Hawaiian medicine, because like what's growing here locally, you know, and
mm.
how can we use this like herbalism every day? Like how can you make a tea that you grew, right? It's this connection to our natural environment, which is then going to support the microbiome and, and all of this being connected. So this is all in the wise woman. Then we have the thriving woman. This is the daily habits, the dinacharya, the circadian rhythm habits. That's really, setting us up to thrive. Then we have the well-nourished woman. This is going to be food as medicine. So we'll be doing, all of our recipes and helping support people with meal planning and making food simple.
Mm.
Like how simple can it be? And then we'll also be touching on ojas, which is like supporting the immune system and how the well-nourished woman, because there's this, it's like the opposite of diet culture. It's like
Yeah,
actually to be nourished. Like, what does that mean to like really be nourished?
yeah. I've
Um,
got to share with you. I don't want to interrupt because this is so beautiful. And I hope everyone's hearing how there's this, you're getting pulled into this really proprietary language. And that's what I love so much about club and why I shifted my attention from yoga health coaching, where everyone was coaching Body Thrive, right? My first book. And they were wondering how to, make it more unique. And what I love about, and I really wanted to move to like people creating from their own Shakti. And yeah, you can use my stuff, but like, it's going to be so much more powerful. You can hear that so clearly in your language. So I just wanted to highlight that. But I also wanted to interject because I posted on Club Thrive yesterday. I'm like, what do you guys want to do for our January challenge? And I listed a lot of things, that we normally do, like the hard things like cryotherapy, intermittent fasting, liver flush. And then at the end, I put sleep, like deep sleep. And deep sleep got more hits, got more votes than anything else. And I'm like, sweet, we're going to do like a deep sleep, rejuve, deep nourishment challenge.
yeah, post holidays, right? It's like back to the basics.
Yeah.
Our lives just got like flipped upside down, like they do every year with the holidays.
Yeah.
It's like just back
And I
to
love that you're bringing people back to nourishment. Like it's like through nourishing, that which needs to fall away falls away.
right, because when you're so deeply nourished, the cravings go away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And and
You
and
don't even
everything.
want, you don't want stuff. You just,
No, and the immune system is stronger, and then you have more vitality. It's just, right, it's like this domino effect.
yeah. Okay, keep going. I interrupted you.
I don't know. So then we have the radiant woman. This is natural beauty. So I'm calling it natural beauty, but it's like the Ayurvedic, like caring for the hair, caring for the skin, and how that affects the nails. And, this women, tend to outsource, spending
Yeah.
a ton of money on products. And it's like, oh my gosh, just get yourself some good oil, girlfriend. And let's like talk about Abhyanga and like how that is life changing.
Yeah.
And then that's also going to be hormone balancing, because when our hormones are out of whack, it's really hard to radiate. So this is also all of these practices are going to be balancing the nervous system, which is then what balances the hormone system. So I mean, they really are all interconnected. So it's kind of hard sometimes to put these into categories, but then we have the peaceful woman. This is going to be the subtle energy practices. So meditation, breath work, the chakra system, also ritual, teaching how to make an altar,
Oh, yeah.
having this place, right? And it's just, and I
Yeah.
say teaching, but it's just like giving suggestions and allowing people to then tap into this, like creating this portal essentially in
Yeah.
your house that you can create, or you can connect to your ancestors, your guides, whatever, whoever it is that you work with, right? This place for prayer and reverence and devotion.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the renewed woman. And this is going to be our seasonal cleansing, our detoxes, our resets.
So beautiful. I mean, the way you've crafted this, I imagine as people, as your women in the process of hearing about it to coming into the club, I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong or let me know how it actually goes, is there's just this sense of resonance, like, oh, I need that. I want that.
Yeah. Yeah. When I've taken people through the slides, the pitch deck, it's like everyone's just, it's like a matter of if they can do it now or like, I think I need to start in March, like this isn't a good time for me because the holidays, whatever. But nobody has just flat out said, no, I don't think this is for me. Everyone's like, yeah, it's just a matter of when. I'm like, cool, I'm here.
So powerful. I absolutely love it. Now, my last question really is around, it's a lot of times when wellness pros hear about what we do, there's often a thought of like, oh, okay, they just gave me the whole formula. I'm just going to go do that on my own. What's been your experience? Look at your face. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
From somebody who has started a business all by myself with no playbook, I went to the depths starting Nina Cucina. The level of burnout and like loneliness that I felt in starting that business and what I created by myself, I would never do that again, ever. I did things the long and hard way. Yeah, it was painful. Blood, sweat, tears, all of it on repeat, to get where I am with that business now. And I know there was a faster and easier way to do it, but I just didn't know. I didn't have anybody to ask. I didn't have anyone to lean on. And again, I think this is why I just like jumped in with open arms into WPA because I was solution aware. I knew that I needed and that I wanted to do this with other people because yeah, you can figure it out on your own, but it is not pretty. Yeah. And I knew I never wanted to do that to myself again. And where I've gotten in 6 months, I don't know if I can even say I would have gotten here in 2 years because I mean, not only learning from you, which is huge, and all of the information that you give us, but it's like the mentors, my accountability partners, the amount of collaboration that I have with them alone, it's just, yeah, you really can't like, there's no like price to put on that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, there's the reason behind why I do this, right? Just like there's the reason behind why you do Wild Woman Collective. And that's what really carries, right? Is it's like, no, this works. Like this is about how we evolve together and being in a sacred container to do our life's work, to live into Dharma, and how it's a rough world out there. Business is tough. It's tough. And as a wellness pro, there's so few jobs where you can really create the kind of transformational experiences that you want to for the people you want to work with. And so we're just sort of left out there trying to figure it out. And what I really am hearing from you is like you, and what I've seen you demonstrate as being a member in Wellness Pro Academy is just being completely receptive, all in, ready to connect and to take direct action of like, okay, this is the structure. I'm going to work the structure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to reinvent the wheel because I did that with Nina Cucina and it was really hard. I'm like, please just give me the cheat code. Like, I'm ready. I want the cheat code.
And that's my goal. And I take directive from you guys of like, how can I make it easier? How can I make it easier? How can I make it easier for you to thrive in your wellness career? And that's literally what keeps me up at night. And when I find something that's easier, it's like, that's why I roll it out right away, because it's just tough. And I didn't know that when I became an Ayurvedic practitioner and a yoga teacher, and there just wasn't this, oh, by the way, there's no jobs, right? There's no real career path. And so creating that has just been, to me, like, it's a huge part of my Dharma and life work. So I'm so thrilled for your women in the Wild Women Collective that you took the plunge into WPA, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, and I will say also the overhead in this business, when coming from somebody in food, people are like, I don't know if I want to pay for that subscription for, chat for the year. I'm like, you guys have no idea. This is such a cheap business. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is like it's nothing. I'm like, I spend, a third of the money that comes in goes out for, overhead
Yeah.
in food. So I'm like, this business model is like, mwah.
Right? High profit business model, like all high impact, high profit. Like and where you are reinforced to lead from your wellness lifestyle so that you get healthier, right? That it increases your integrity with what you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just keep showing up because it's like you need to be hold yourself at the highest integrity.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't need an accountability partner in my own club because all of you are my accountability partner.
Yes.
All
Yes.
of you are keeping me to my highest standard and wanting to grow and wanting to evolve so that I can continue showing up
Yeah.
and
Yes.
bringing, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nina. And again, I'm just going to let everybody know that your website, and and we didn't even get into recipes. When we originally scheduled, I'm like, we'll do another episode just on Nina's recipes. Living-ayurveda-hawaii.com. So I'm going to spell Ayurveda and Hawaii, AUYURVEDA-HAWAII. So you can check out Nina. And if anyone knows any woman in Oahu or any women business owners in Oahu or even around Greater Hawaii, because I know this is going to start pulling people in from a little further, please connect with Nina. Yay.
So thank you, Kate. And thank you for doing what you do. I just finished the Witches Cancer Journal, and thank you for not giving up on your life's work and for fighting so hard, because like, I'm just so, so grateful for the work that you're continuing to do because it is really changing lives. It's completely changed my life. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.